Or is there a way that we can maneuver through this situation and return to our original status as sovereign and divine beings?
Do you really think that there's any party that wouldn't subscribe to that? I mean, do you think of because you mentioned President Bush?
I mentioned that just because of the new surveillance technology
Fair enough.
or bill that was just passed.
No, I'm good with that. I'm just saying, is there anybody that wouldn't go along with it? I think governments by nature are going to want to have as much control as possible.
Right.
It's hard for a government to turn away Republican, Democratic, it doesn't seem to matter. Everybody wants that feeling of control.
Exactly. And once you have control, then you want to begin to manipulate. And once everybody is an iBot and part of this grid, you are so easily manipulatable that we probably will begin to come to an era where we won't be able to tell the difference between our own thought and the thought that they want to implant within us.
East of the Rockies, Radael is in Florida on Coast to Coast AM for William Henry.
Greetings, Ian, and greetings, Henry. Ian, I met you in 1994 when I moved from Tallahassee to Atlanta. You were on WGST.
I was. That's very.
I think we had a few conversations. I don't know if you remember.
I'm glad. I hope they were pleasant memories for you.
They are, and I'm so elated to hear you on Coast to Coast AM.
Good, thank you.
Okay, I want to make a couple of comments and ask William Henry a question. Okay, the God particle in the book of John, 1 John, says, the light that every man that comes into the world. So I feel that is that so-called spark that you're talking about.
Okay.
And Ian asked about evil. Isaiah 45:7, God said, I formed the light and created darkness. I made peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. But if you, most people has been led to the knowledge of the Kabbalion, the seven Hermetic principle. You have a principle of the law of polarity. When this universal spirit, this conscious energy, which we call God or the spirit force, thought the universe into existence, when he brought forth the physical and material manifestation, all energies went to an equal and opposite ends. Hot, cold, negative, positive, yin, yang, male, female, good, evil. But again, we as being a higher order of being are able to choose from, whatever man soweth, so shall he reap, which is another law of the law of cause and effect.
I think it's a really good point. Do you have a specific question? I think you're making some really sort of excellent groundwork here, but is there a specific question you want to get to?
Well, from my understanding, Jesus said these things you can do in greater works, and he said there were many things I have yet to say unto you, but you cannot bear them. I think he was trying to, from my understanding, he formed a cult with the 12 disciples by teaching them the mysteries of the kingdom of God, which was the order of Melchizedek. But the question I wanted to ask William, do you think that the portals that were from the king's chamber going to Osiris, not the Orion, and the queen's chamber that were going to Sirius B, and it was, from my understanding, there were two shafts that were coming into the king's chamber and two shafts that were coming into the queen's chamber. Before the pyramids were dismantled, in Zechariah Sitchin's the wars of gods and men, do you think that those beings who had the knowledge of the rod and how to raise their vibrations were able to be teleported through those shafts?
That's it. By the way, William, I just say, and thank you, Rada L. That call is so typical of why I love this show. I didn't see that coming. It's really interesting how we pull all this thing together. You got to love that as an investigative mythologist yourself.
Oh, totally. I mean, I totally share his passion for the possibilities of the Great Pyramid as a transformational apparatus. They refer to it as a resurrection machine, suggesting that king's chamber was utilized as a place of transformation. I mean, it's interesting, too, that the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid has the exact same dimensions as the Holy of Holies of Solomon's Temple. And some actually believe that the original Solomon's Temple was the Great Pyramid in Giza. Just shameless self-promotion here. I'm leading a tour to Egypt in January, a Stargate Mystery Tour of Egypt, and I will be looking at these questions, lecturing about them, because it's ultimately, I believe, that the pieces of this advanced sacred science and this spiritual technology are still in Egypt awaiting discovery.
Very interesting. And I love what he got there, too, about polarity. I thought that was really good, about the whole duality deal. I think that's really cool. All right.
Balance of male and female is absolutely where it's at.
And that's why this audience just always delightfully surprises me. International line, Michael is in Vancouver on Coast to Coast AM for William Henry. Michael?
Hi, it's actually Mike Aiel. I have quite a fantastic story for you, William. I'm quite a fan of yours site. Anyway, but to get to the point, on November 8th, 2003 was the Harmonic Concordance. Do you remember?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Let me tell you a story. I was invited to one of the energy vortices, one of the 13, to the caliber of the Pyramids of Giza. Now, this is very important. Working with the global grid map, you take the sacred geometry, the fifth platonic solid, the dodecahedron. When that is overlaid with planet Earth, all the points line up, all the grid points line up. On that night, I gathered with 144 light workers, healers, psychics. To make a long story short, the rods of power, the rods that you speak of, is the copper pipes filled with crystals. Picture over 1,000 of these crystals or pipes with crystals in them. I walked the grid. This vibrational energy came off of it. It's different. I'm a healer from a child. That's a hot energy. This is electric. It's vibrational. When I walked out of the grid, I walked over to a huge crystal, double terminated, underneath the star.
You're going to have to hang on here. We're going to have to get the rest of the story after the break. So hang on, and you'll tell us how that wraps up the epilogue next on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punnett. Well, I want to get back to the international line where Michael in Vancouver was just getting to the end of the story about the harmonic convergence.
The harmonic concordance is where 6 planets lined up on the astrological chart to make a perfect Star of David, or the Merkaba, or the portal. The portal did open up that night. When I stood over this crystal, this energy, vibrational energy, imploded in me. Christ consciousness, the Christ consciousness has returned to Earth. Since then, working up in the mountains, working with the global grid map by Becker and Huygens, I've created this crystal grid. The circle is the circle, the magic circle of quartz boulders. The rods are the copper pipes. It is a portal. I have pictures of fairies, little people, spirit orbs, spirits, sylphs, elementals. My question is this: would you be interested in attending something like this? And, or specifically, my other part of the real question is, you had on your site something about Tara Hill in Ireland. Could you tell us a little bit about it and why you may have taken it off the site? Tara Hill, the temple, and what was discovered in Tara Hill. It was something similar to a portal or something with the circle of stones and the crystal.
All right, let's get an answer. William Henry?
Yeah, Tara Hill is a sacred site in Ireland. I took the article down. I recently redid my website, and I'm in the process of putting some of the older articles back up. And so that Tara Hill article, which I think was titled "The Blue Stones of Atlantis," it will be back up soon. And, that reminds me about something, Ian. We were talking earlier about why they couldn't use this technology at Solomon's Temple in order to defend themselves from the Romans. And one of the things that struck me, I was thinking about it during the break, was that in numerous instances, Nebuchadnezzar sought the power of the Ark of the Covenant. He sought the Ark as a relic, and we're told that Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah, was forewarned of Nebuchadnezzar coming into Jerusalem in order to steal the Ark, and he took some blue stones to Tara Hill in Ireland, so the legend says. So it's quite possible that while they might have had the actual hardware itself, the hardware relic, they didn't have the quote-unquote software that was required in order to make it work.
Okay. Let's get the break in, and then we can get just everybody else lined up after that. So hang on, Joelle, Anita, PJ, Francis, everybody else online. We'll get to you for William Henry next on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punnett. Let's get to as many as we can. Wildcard line, Joe Ellie is in Pennsylvania for William Henry on Coast to Coast AM.
Hi, guys. Looks like you're having an L of a show tonight, as I am Joel.
Yes.
Follows Micah L and whatever, perhaps Rad L.
Rada L. Yeah, actually, you came down on my list as Joe L.E.